Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. This is our 2-year anniversary virtual plant clinic today. Yay!
Yay.
Congratulations to us, 2 years of doing this just about every Thursday. I know that we missed a few, mostly during holidays, and
Right.
no one's going to watch us on Christmas or New Year's Day, I
Or
guess. But
Thanksgiving, probably.
yeah, no, I think people would tune in on Thanksgiving, by
Maybe
the way.
while they're cooking. You should do one of those cooking shows that you promised on Thanksgiving sometime.
Do we have to do like an all day long cooking special on Thanksgiving? That's a thought.
There you go.
But thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Bill Lester. I'm with Hernando County Extension, and I'm here with my very regular for 2 years co-host, Lily Browning, who is our Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator here in Hernando County. And as always, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments and we will show them and we'll take a shot at trying to answer them too.
What's interesting is when we started this 2 years ago, this is April. Yeah, I said COVID was just starting, but you had the idea pre-COVID. It wasn't really a response to COVID. It just happened to be something we really had to jump into, because in the height of lockdown and everything. And I think we learned a lot of new things. COVID taught us to adapt. And I know both you and I'm going out more, to public events or in-person speaking now, but we're not giving up the online because it is so successful and we can reach, beyond who shows up at a library or we can reach Tallahassee. Good morning, buddy. We can reach all over. And yeah, it's been a very successful thing, not just these virtual plant clinics, but the classes we teach online. Then we record them and then they're available at your leisure. It all just works together very well. Morning to Sam. Good morning, Lee.
Yeah, because pre-COVID, we were doing Facebook Live. We were doing little short classes on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And of course, when you do that on Facebook Live, it's recorded just like this is, and you can watch it later on if you want. And we had even kicked around the idea here of starting a podcast. We had kind of set our eyes on one of the rooms here that we're going to turn into the podcast room. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden, overnight, we had to learn how to work that Zoom thing, which I think I had been on maybe 2 Zoom meetings before that. And I knew nothing about it other than you click on the link and you're in there. And when you leave, you close it out. And that's all I knew about Zoom.
There was a big learning curve. And I mean, we jumped right in and did it, but so did the hackers and everything. And we had a little bit of trouble with that. But I think either they got bored or we got it locked down a lot better now.
It is. Zoom has made a lot of changes because this all took Zoom completely by surprise also.
Yes.
And Zoom works very well for meetings where you don't have to have really high quality video, audio, this and that. Right here on StreamYard, which is what we're using coming to you through today, works much better. And if I actually purchase better lighting in my office, you'd be able to see me better on a really dark and almost stormy day. Yeah.
You need to get one of these.
I need to order the ring light. Yours works very, very well. But yeah, we've learned a lot over the last 2 years and started on doing this through Zoom, moved on to StreamYard. The idea was when we had to close the office, people could still call us. They could still send emails. They could still ask us their questions. But if we could do something online where we get a bunch of people together all at once to ask all their questions and we can answer them all together, and then everybody else who's just listening in can learn from it also, seemed like a pretty good idea.
Yeah, and now we're 2 years. When we're saying that, and I guess we will be off air next week, huh?
Yes, I need to make the announcement that we will not be here next Thursday. I am going to be in Ocala all day long at a mandatory meeting.
Oh,
I'd
you should
rather be
stop by
here,
and see
but
who
I'm going to be in
JCR.
Ocala.
And I will be taking vacation day. Sorry.
What?
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm taking about a week off at the end of April, so I need to firm up those dates. And
Okay. So I'll fill in for you as usual.
hey, if I'm out camping and I have good enough internet, I'll be on.
Okay. I was not supposed to be here this week. We announced last week that I wasn't going to be here. But it turns out the thing that I had to do is for Carmen Bruno, speaking to a Leadership Fernando group.
Ooh.
He told me 11, and then because I pushed him for more information, it's like, no, it's 1. Like, oh, good. I'm glad I didn't go out there 2 hours early when nobody was there. So I get to be here. And then I'll pack up all this stuff and go out to where they're meeting in Hernando Beach. So.
Well, 11's kind of like 1. It's just got more ones.
It's more ones. Yeah.
11, 1.
Yeah.
And that's another benefit to doing things virtually, online.
Sure.
I don't have to pack up equipment and walk out the door. And it looks like it's about to pour where I am right now.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, well, I'm in an enclosed room, but I saw that beforehand. And yeah, we're headed out to the Coast Guard Auxiliary on the water. We'll see what's going on. So, but as you can see, my day already is comprised of online and then in person. So I'm trying to, walk that fine line between both. And I have started meeting at one library, the most popular library in the county, once a month to feel out how that's going to go for in-person people. And then I'm glad to do that, but I'm also, whatever I teach there is something I'm also going to teach online because I'm not going to make separate. It takes a long time to make the PowerPoints and make the classes and do the research. So
Yeah.
it'll be one of the same classes that we also provide online. So you'll just have that extra opportunity to either see it in person if you like that better and are able to go, or do the online thing. So.
And if you need any details about those live in-person classes here at local Hernando County libraries, just shoot Lily an email. She can send you all the information.
Or look at my Facebook. Next Wednesday, I won't have a virtual class because we'll have the library class. And we have a rain barrel workshop the day before. There's only so much I can do, but the library class will be at 2:30 at the Spring Hill Library on Spring Hill Drive. And it's going to be about everything you always wanted to know about your Florida lawn. And of course, as I just mentioned, that will be shown on an online class on April 27th. And you can join me for that if you'd like, Bill, because I know you have a lot to say about that too.
Okay.
A jumping worm. Cool.
Here, I just uploaded something very, very important for anybody who is in or near Hernando County. I know we have a number of people here from all over the state, so we'll understand it if you don't come in person. Oh, I guess I need to.
That's pretty cool. I'm a butterfly.
Here, I'll work on turning a few things off here. Let me think. What's the best way to download that? Oh, I already had it here. There we go. Now it goes on top of our faces.
Well, that's all right. They need to see this right now.
On Saturday, April 23rd, at our Master Gardener's Nursery here in Hernando County, we're going to be having a great big Earth Day celebration. We're going to have classes. We have plants for sale. We have a photography class going on. Lots of fun. We have activities for the kids. So please be sure to put that on your calendar and make sure that if you're anywhere near us, you could stop by for that.
Well, of course, they will want to come to Brooksville that day for the Blueberry Festival. So if you are here for that, come on down. And let me warn you, though, we are working on securing bathroom facilities nearby. There's a little tiny park kind of on the road to get there that we hope will be up and operating. It was closed down for a while, and as long as the water is turned on, we should have access to those facilities. If not, I know I mentioned this in our class yesterday, if you're coming from the north, there's a Walmart and a Lowe's on the way there. If you're coming from a distance, just warning you, there aren't any bathroom facilities at the Master Gardener Nursery, but we hope to have some open nearby. So,
we're working on it.
Yes.
Okay, we have a question here from Cheryl about a jumping worm. Any idea what a jumping worm is, Lily?
I've seen little jumping worms. It seems like a long time ago.
I'm familiar with the flat-headed ones because there is an invasive one. Cheryl, you can always bring it to the office. Make sure you put it in some kind of container. I'm sure that we do have species of jumping worms here. They're generally not plant pests.
Cheryl, are you coming Tuesday to the Reindeer Workshop? I don't remember if you're coming Tuesday or doing the virtual one later in the month. That'd be a perfect time to bring it for Bill to see it if you're coming this coming Tuesday to the Reindeer Workshop. Or you can come before. That's totally up to you. You'll want to call, make sure Bill's in the office. If you go by today, Bernie will be there all day. She's coming Tuesday, okay? Bill will be there. So bring it along then.
Oh my gosh, it's a earthworm that has an aggressive wiggling behavior. I'm reading a University of Florida blog on it right now.
Oh, okay. Speaking of which,
oh no, they're all over Florida.
Huh. Well, bring it Tuesday, Cheryl, so he can verify that, because he will be leading the compost portion of the class, so you'll get to see both of us 4D. It would be a big letdown, I promise you. But and speaking of critters and things we read about, we had addressed on here a few weeks ago. There were some questions about the Joro spider, Joro.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some research on it. And I just saw something today from Marion County Extension's Facebook page addressing it. Yes, it's in Georgia. Yes, it came in, via shipping. However, yes, it is a palm-sized spider. But you know what? So are our native banana spiders here in Florida. So don't think palm-sized spiders are flying around in the wind, ready to swap you in the face if you're walking, anywhere in Georgia. They're in the woods, just like our banana spiders are in more wooded areas. They can be terrifying, of course, when you first come across one, but they're not any danger to humans. And they say they're an invasive species because they don't belong here, but they're naturalized, and so far they have not found them to be causing terrible harm. They're not aggressive towards the native spiders. And I was just reading that mud daubers seem to like to prefer to take them to feed their babies. So they're here, they don't belong here. They're not going to crawl on your face in your sleep, most likely, unless maybe you're sleeping in the woods. But so far, and I always leave that, because we don't know what they're going to find out later. So far, nothing into the word. So.
You said you saw that on Marion County's Facebook page?
Yeah, Marion County Extension.
That might have initially been my post from the National Master Gardener Facebook page.
Okay.
I did one on it about a week or so ago.
Okay. Did you talk about the mud daubers?
No. It was a very, very short post with a link to University of Georgia information on it.
So most likely they're here already in Florida.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're no more likely to run across one of those than you are a banana spider, which we've run across banana spiders, and they will freak you out because of what they look like, but they don't really do anything to you. It's one of those things you just like to show newcomers to Florida, just to watch their reactions. We have a question from Facebook user.
Yes, we do. We'll leave this one for you. So Facebook user, and if you're watching on our Facebook group, you come up as Facebook user unless you give Facebook permission. You have to click on something. So that's why we're not sure what your name is right now. I'm sure you'll tell us. I'm sure we'll figure it out. Said they're having problems growing flowering plants or almost anything except hibiscus in a garden that is mostly in the shade with some dappled sun. And they lose the hibiscus to deer because I know deer do like it's. Hibiscus is like crack for deer. When on the rare occasion when they get into our nursery, if a gate was left open to come in, they go for the hibiscus first. So they do like it. Any suggestions?
Well, shade is hard, and you have to, go to shade-loving plants. Azaleas do pretty good in the shade. A native oak leaf hydrangea loves the shade. Impatiens love the shade. Gingers are great to put in the shade. I figured that was Linda. She always has the trouble up in Lake Lindsay with the deer. I was kind of thinking that was her. I would just go to, and you could Google shade loving plants UF and find the different plants, or you can use the Florida Friendly Plant Guide, and they have some at Chinsegat Conservation Center, Linda, if you don't have one of your own. And then they will tell you, what grows well in the shade. But the flowering things would be that oak leaf hydrangea, the azaleas, they only flower in the spring. She feeds the deer every year.
And I found a video on YouTube, the shady side of your landscape, some lady made, and I just put a link to it on there.
Good, yeah. I've heard that was a good one.
I don't know much about it. I'm not sure if I can recommend it or not.
No. Linda, go to Hernando County Government YouTube and look up my playlist. And I do have a class, or he just gave you the link to the shady side of your landscape. So that's going to give.
And that's probably not the only class you have that touches on or deals with shade.
I just hit 75 videos on that.
Wow.
On that forum. So yes, we've been busy. And if anybody else, please give us your ideas of what works well in the shade for you. Beautyberry. I'm not sure how the deer like that. They probably like that too. Okay. Yep, she's going to be at Chinsegat tomorrow. And just ask Alice or Hannah for a Florida Friendly Plant Guide. They should have some. If not, I'll make sure they get some. And we will have them at that Earth Day celebration as well. And come down there and talk to the gardeners about what grows well in the shade.
Yeah, you're a little limited in the shade, but there's still options. There's still things that you can grow, and it's going to do well.
One thing I had that grew very well in the shade was fire spike. It's not firecracker plant, but fire spike, and those attracted hummingbirds and had those nice red spikes.
And of course, azaleas and camellias.
Sure.
They like that speckled shade, but they need a fairly acidic soil to do well in.
Up where she lives, azaleas do really well. She's up in the
Yeah.
Lake Lindsay area.
Yeah, I get the emails from people who just made a hedge out of their azaleas in a new neighborhood in the full sun, and they're wondering why they're all dying.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work well.
Right plant, right place.
And Margaret has a question. I have shade in the winter and afternoon sun in the summer. I have no idea what to plant there.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have something that does well in either. And the plant, without having the plant guide in my hand, some of them will have they'll show the cloud and part sun and the sun. And there are some plants that do well in all three. Sun in the summer, though, you have to have something that withstands the heat very well. Hibiscus might actually be one of the options there.
Yeah, because hibiscus doesn't do much in the winter, generally stops growing, can freeze back if it gets cold enough. It'll get some cold damage.
I had some young ones that froze back, and I was worried whether they're coming back. 2 of them are now, and I'll keep my eye on the 3rd one. Again, that firecracker plant that I mentioned, that's going to, get kind of bushy and take up a pretty big area. If you're in the Spring Hill area, you might want to check out the Nature Coast Botanical Gardens, which are generally pretty shady when you walk around there. Coleus is wonderful. Good idea. Scorpion tail. Oh, in the picture.
And scorpion tail's a native.
But that's in the sun. That's scorpion tail in the photo behind you. Ironweed is another native, might grow well in the shade, I think.
Firespite should do well because she has shade in the winter, but firespite just dies back really, really strongly in the winter. So that's fine.
But it comes back, yeah.
The important thing is it comes back from spring through fall when she's going to have afternoon sun. And it's pretty durable. It's pretty tough because having things in a spot where they get that strong afternoon sun is about the toughest spot in your yard.
Or just put some hedges there, some Yopon hollies, some kind of hollies or something like that. Just plant them there, fill up that space, and let them do their thing. My Yopon hollies are in about the same situation. They're in the north part of the house, but they're in a lot of shade. And those are slow growing and won't, the dwarf Yopon hollies. And, but they just fill in a space nicely and look nice. And then, like one of your foundation plantings.
Yeah, so those are all possibilities.
My scorpion tail in my yard is just coming back now from being frozen. With a lot of my sages. My sages are all very happy. Well, we're getting a lot of rain, actually, but some of my sages, the drier it is, the happier they are. So.
And they usually freeze back in the winter also. Everything here at our office, 90% of it froze back or completely froze back during the winter. It's all coming back, and half of it's flowering already.
Will firebush do okay in the shade, you think? I think that is a shade or sun plant. It might not flower.
Firebush grows and flowers and does well. It would probably get a little leggy.
Yeah.
Depending on how shady it is.
That's okay, because it'll freeze. It's okay if it gets leggy. It's going to freeze in the winter, at least in Central and North Florida. So. I've said that.
Mine at home, I cut down to the ground. The one here at the in front of the office, we had to cut back to 4 inches high.
I saw that.
It's coming back already. It'll be flowering in a few weeks.
Sure. Yep. Yours got way bigger than mine. Mine never gets past my hips. And yours gets like up to as tall as the building before it freezes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's location.
If you have them in a somewhat protected spot, and they really don't freeze back, or they only freeze back just a little bit, and you just have to trim just a little bit, they'll get up to like 10 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, and you don't see them very often because freezes knock them back, but if it's protected,
Yeah,
I've
mine
seen
must
some
not be
10-foot tall
protected.
ones.
It's not protected. It's totally frozen down to the ground, but comes back. They are some of the best plants to attract hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a
Firebush. Firebush is number one for hummingbirds. If you have a firebush, you pretty much will have hummingbirds at some point.
But make sure, I'm going to write it down. I'm not sure if I'm spelling that right. Amelia potens. It looks like Bill wrote it. There we go.
Hey, I made a post.
Yes, you made a post. That is the native variety. There are non-native varieties of firebush. The native variety is more likely to attract more pollinators, more hummingbirds, more butterflies. Why? Obviously, because they recognize it. They have evolved with it. So that's what you want to really. It might be Hemelia. I think I spelled that wrong, but that's the Latin name that you want to watch out for.
Looks like PJ got a little bit lost this morning.
Yeah.
We schedule this. I schedule this like as soon as we get done with one, I schedule it again for the next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We have it on our Facebook page, Hernando EXT, and Lily has it on hers also.
Mm-hmm. I posted I shared your link yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And for people who watch us on YouTube, if you like our page and give it a thumbs up, please give all the videos a thumbs up and click the little bell. You should be notified every time we go live or we schedule a live class. So those are some different ways to find out about it or to be notified.
Okay. You haven't got a phone call yet, Bill.
No, and I was just thinking that it's coming.
It's coming. Bill has some very helpful master gardeners. They went to a native plant nursery to bring some native plants to their nursery. So that'll be wonderful for Earth Day when we have that event. And he's got the credit card. So they're at the nursery. He's got the credit card. So if he has to disappear for a little bit, I'll just have to keep talking while he makes that little payment to get those native plants to us.
Yes, our master gardeners are loading up on a variety of native plants for the nursery and also the native milkweed. Yes. And I'm not sure how many trays they're getting. Hopefully a bunch because, Lily and I in our classes, encourage people to plant more native plants, plant the native species of milkweeds for the people who like the monarch butterflies. And then people say, well, where do we get them at? They're really, really hard to find. But our master gardener nursery has been trying to stock them.
It's a continual problem. Mm-hmm. The natives, the three natives that have shown promise, that are marketable, are the Asclepias tuberosa, that's your orange butterfly weed, mm-hmm. Asclepias perennis, and Asclepias, what's the other one? They're both it's a pink and a white swamp milkweed. Yeah, they do sell so quickly, and people grab them up. But there's 21 native milkweeds in Florida. Only 3 have they had a lot of success propagating and selling. They're working on some others. We might eventually get up to like maybe 5 or 6 that are able to be propagated and sold. So, but the problem is, how marketing works. You have to have a market. You have to have people who want it, enough people who want it to make it worth propagating. And so I guess the moral is keep saying how much you want it and tell your big box stores how much you want it so they can, put pressure on those or encourage those to propagate more natives. Your big box stores are going to sell you most likely the Asclepias cursivata. I remember that because there's the word curse in it. And, otherwise known as your tropical milkweed. There may be some issues with that tropical milkweed from your big box store. One of them, the biggest one, is that it may have a systemic pesticide built into it to help keep it marketable, and not because who's going to sell sticks of milkweed? But the problem is that could be deadly to your butterfly garden.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you've had them a long time and they've grown back and you're pretty sure the pesticides are no longer, in their system, they've come back years and years. They just find so many new issues with tropical milkweed that it's just really not even worth having anymore. It's on the lists of potential to be highly invasive. There's a risk for that. I've seen it picked up in natural areas where it shouldn't be. And because it grows so profusely, it doesn't go dormant in the winter. It keeps the butterflies, they're not social distancing. They are hanging around areas and therefore unnaturally spreading a natural parasite. The parasite has always existed on them. It's called OE. If you want to find out its real name and see it about that long, you can look that up. Butterfly OE. And they have it naturally on them, but when they are all hanging around this tropical milkweed and, being distracted by it or whatever, hanging around there too long, they're passing that around to each other. Does not hurt the adult butterflies. They're used to carrying it on their wings, but it is deadly to the caterpillars. So.
And there is more than one virus that naturally circulates between all different kinds of caterpillars. So it's not just a monarch issue,
right?
But it could be a problem with any kind of caterpillars if you try raising too many of them in an enclosed spot. Sanitation is very important. Obviously, if you're trying to raise too many caterpillars on too few plants and you have them all packed in, if one of them picks up the virus, it's going to spread like crazy to the other ones. You're going to have a problem.
And unfortunately, I've read some periodicals from universities where we're trying to help. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to help. We want to help the monarch butterfly. And we want to blame the farmers for having better crops with less weeds, hence less milkweed, less, the monarchs don't have as much food. So we have tried to fix that with all the best intentions by rearing them ourselves. And those who rear them indoors and in cages and all that, this article did mention that they're also inadvertently helping spread more diseases. So they're not helping the monarch community. So what is the best thing to do is to have native milkweed outside in your butterfly garden. Let nature do its thing. Some of those caterpillars are going to make it. Some of them are going to be a lovely snack for a baby bird. That's all part of nature.
Or it's going to end up in a wasp nest. And if you raise the number of caterpillars way up, you're indirectly going to raise the number of wasps to control them.
Right.
So you want to not throw things too terribly out of whack because you're going to end up with a lot of unintended issues.
Right. So the best thing to do, because you're thinking, what is there to do? What is there to do? Do your best to get native milkweeds, plant them outside, and don't interfere. Mm-hmm. That is the best thing to do.
That's what I do. And I have a lot of passion vine. So I get the Gulf fritillary and then the zebra longwing a little bit later on in the summer. Caterpillars on, I just leave them alone. And they do just fine. And I end up with plenty of butterflies. No shortage of butterflies in my yard. Mm-hmm. So. And PJ makes a very important point here about that she's going to be by our nursery. Can she use her credit card? No, we cannot accept credit cards. We are behind the times, I know that, but we cannot accept credit cards. We take cash, obviously, cash still works, or checks also. So if anybody remembers what an old-fashioned check is, it's that piece of paper that
Anyone
you
who's been to a rain barrel workshop and wants a rain barrel has to know what a check is, because we only take checks. We don't.
Oh, so you know what they look like, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I might write.
I haven't written a check in a couple of years. Well, no, I wrote one maybe in the last 5 years.
Oh, I wrote one this past week and had to put it in an envelope and send it to a certain organization called the IRS. But I purposefully wanted to pay them the slowest way possible. But I write about 4 checks a year, Girl Scout cookies, something like that.
You're not that person at the grocery store that's fumbling around looking for the check.
I used to be in the 90s. Yeah. I was just saying to somebody, remember when we would stand there and write checks for our groceries?
So our nursery takes either cash or checks. We're not quite up to the credit card point yet. And we got a question from somebody new here. Mithril. Mithril says, I have a rain tree that I'm going to have removed in the back corner of my half-an-acre yard.
Yay.
That's great. I'm sure your neighbors will appreciate that if you have neighbors close by, because the seeds off that rain tree blow all over your neighborhood. And your neighbors get those little rain trees popping up in their flower beds. Even if they've never yelled at you about it, it's probably happening.
Well, they probably didn't know where they came from.
Yeah, they're wondering, where the heck did this come from? And I think it's a good place for milkweed. What other natives are a good choice for year-round planting in that space? Thank you. If you want to see native plants in action, just stop by our office, because we got a whole bunch of them outside. It's really dark and sprinkly right now, so you might not want to do it right now. But we have a bunch of different native plants right out front. Some of them are in shady spots, others are in sunny spots, so you can get an idea of, okay, the wild coffee and those things grow in the shade.
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you. Back to that shade plant, wild coffee. There you go.
And our wild coffee got frozen pretty badly. It came back literally overnight. It looks great again, like it never got damaged this winter.
Fantastic.
And it's in a very shady spot right now.
Another good choice is blanket flower for that area, and that will help. Your milkweed is going to take a while to spread, the native milkweed. Your blanket flower will help fill in those areas really nice. Not officially any longer a native plant, but a great plant to have.
And very cold tolerant.
And I have really good luck with chickseed, Coreopsis. I have some in the ground. I have some in pots. That blooms all the time unless it freezes back, and then it takes no time at all to come back as well.
If your spot is very dry and sandy, Dune Sunflower or Beach Sunflower does very well. Yes. Very low maintenance, grows like a weed.
Yes, it does. And yeah, that's a great place. That, as you said, the Beach Sunflower, the Dune Sunflower, you get that in blanket flower, and that'll take over your spaces. Mm-hmm. Quite nicely.
And Mithril, I have no idea if you live in Hernando County or not, but if you stop by our office or contact us, we can get you the Florida Friendly Landscape book with all the different plants that are going to do well in Florida. So it gives you kind of.
And we do have news about that, though. It's finally been updated. When did it be available? Did they say May?
We're still giving out the old copies. So
we are. So hopefully by summer sometime we'll have our hands on some of the updated FFL books. But I just got a bunch of the ones we've had for a while, so they're still pretty good. If you have any questions, you can always ask us.
And PJ's encouraging her local nurseries to sell more natives. That's great. There are a lot of people interested in it. And I know that a good part of what our Master Gardener Nursery does isn't just raising plants and selling them and making money. Really, most of what they do is education. So letting people know what kind of plants are going to do well in your yard, and then actually making them available to them also, because a lot of them can be very difficult to find.
Right. I'm not that, I don't know about nurseries in Ocala, if there's any native ones. Where your gardeners are headed today is Green Isle in Groveland. And where did you say the other place they like to go?
Well, the other place is for wholesale only. They just sell plugs of plants
Okay.
that have to be repotted.
Okay. The Green Isle Nursery, Wilcox Nursery, I hear good things about them. And we always encourage people, if you want to make a day trip to get native plants, which you may have to do to find a good native nursery, a large one, but stay within your region. Buddy, stay up in North Florida. Everyone in Central Florida, Green Isle will be perfect. If you're down in Broward, try to find some down there. See, we did have somebody.
Another comment on the checks here. Well, at least Lily's not blocking the line at Publix anymore. So
No, I do the quick little. I've got the thing where I can just tap.
oh, you do the tap thing. I don't usually tap. I just so now you're even quicker than I am at the grocery store. So we got a question from Jem here. Do you suggest planting poinsettia in the ground or keep it in containers? Either way, it does just fine in the ground. Surprisingly well.
I think it used to do better than it does now. In the 70s and 80s, the older houses in Florida, they had poinsettias as big as their houses. I think the ones that you get now for Christmas to fill up churches or, your dining room table or something, they're not made to last as long, I don't think. But some people have great success with them. And the story I always tell is I have a friend who worked at a funeral home, which was next door to a church. And he would wait till like 2 weeks after Christmas and take the poinsettias that everyone, did not pick up from the church, and they were in terrible shape. And he'd plant them next door, disobeying all the rules about planting poinsettias. They were under street lights, and you're supposed to keep them dark all night long. All these other things, these poinsettias did not read those books, those publications, and they did lovely over there. They did fantastic. So, and I always told him, do not tell me what's in your soil over there. So sometimes, it's just experimenting and finding the right plant in the right place.
Yeah, poinsettias and Christmas cactus benefit from total darkness at night. I don't think it's an absolute deal breaker, though, because I've had both that I didn't obsess over keeping in a place where they're not affected at all by the outside house lights from my house, street lights, whatever, and they still did very well. Christmas cactus can do really well in Florida. Put it outside from spring through fall, but put it in a very protected spot, because if you put it out in the yard, we get so much rain, it's going to get root rot by the end of summer. It cannot handle the amount of rain that we get.
They love hanging basket on porches where they're getting like the benefit of some rain splashing on them, but they're not being drenched by it.
Yeah. And PJ, I think, is talking about the wild coffee plant, not what I have in my favorite coffee. Wow, that looks like a really big coffee cup there, doesn't it?
Oh, did you hear? The Latin name for wild coffee, Psychotria nervosa. Well,
Yeah.
and the native plant purists will tell you stay away from any kind of plant with a name that's a cultivar, even if it's native, because it's not purely native. If it has anything in quotes, it's not a pure native. It's a cultivized native. Well, I'm doing research for plants that bees love, and wild coffee is one of the few things that grow in the shade that bees love. I found out there is a cultivar of wild coffee, a dwarf cultivar, and its cultivar name is Little Psycho.
We have two different varieties right out front here, and I think that might be one of them.
Okay. That's just some of the things you find out while you're doing research. You want to teach others.
And I think Mithriel wanted to know our location. We are at 16110 Aviation Loop Drive in
I like that. You said that
Cookeville,
off.
Florida. And yeah, if you want to go ahead and throw that in the chat box. But here's our phone number. So please feel free to give us a call. And Teresa will answer the phone. Normally Teresa, unless she's at lunch. Unless they patch the phone through to me, then you get me answering the phone. And we can give you directions and tell you how to get here. We're right at the very edge of the Brooksville Airport. So the Brooksville Industrial
Right next door
Airport.
to the post office. That's the easiest way to put it. If you know where the post office is, like where California Street meets Spring Hill Drive, Aviation Loop is really just an access road, but it gets a name. So, and that's right where they are, if you're familiar with Hernando County.
I am close enough to Spring Hill Drive that I could stand out front and hit it with a baseball. So, if that helps at all.
Easily. Yes. You might get in trouble because there's a lot of traffic there, but.
So, peanut grass, also known as perennial peanut, is a good ground cover. It really prefers a sunny location, and there are two different kinds. One kind you plant from rhizomes, so that's an underground section of stem, and it will spread and spread. And if that's what you want, that's a good thing. But it won't stop.
Yes.
And then you have another perennial peanut that started from seed, I believe.
I think so.
You can even get plugs
of it. I think you can get plugs of it too.
Yeah, because you may be able to buy it as sod or cut up into sections of sod. So so peanut grass or
I've actually had
peanut.
someone like very angrily stating that nobody told him how aggressive a perennial peanut is. So you got to have a lot of space. Perennial peanut is not a native, but it's a great ground cover, and it's a legume, so that's going to fix some nitrogen for you. You can get it, I think it's going under the brand name EcoTurf. Some people Some people use it as a turf. It's not something you're going to walk on barefoot, well, especially when it's blooming, because then you'll be like you are up north with the clover. You could step on a bee. But it's also beware that, October, first cold front, it's going to look like dead lettuce. So a lot of people.
Yes, it dies back and goes very dormant for a while during the winter.
Is PJ asking about sunshine mimosa? She's asking which one doesn't have thorns. I'm not aware that, he or she, which one doesn't have thorns? Sunshine mimosa is another, the Mimosa strigulosa is native, no matter what your guy there says, PJ, it is native. But your gardeners, they get angry about the sunshine mimosa because it really took over for them, and they're continually trying to get it out of their flower beds. I have the exact opposite problem. I can't really get it to grow that much. See me in 5 years, maybe I'll have a different story. So again, and we do know someone who uses Mimosa strigolosa as her lawn, and she does very well with that. So just beware. And I think what my issue was, why I didn't get it to spread as well as I wanted, is I put too much mulch. I put it in a bed and then put mulch. Well, then it has nothing to hook onto to spread. So I had to take some of the mulch away.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't noticed them really having, if they may have some, non-pokey thorns, but they're not like greenbrier or anything like that.
Okay, we have a question or comment, I guess, from Jill, who I think is another brand new viewer, or maybe she just doesn't ask questions very often. She said,
listening.
I wish more HOAs would incorporate more native plants in their approved plant lists, even wish they require a minimum, like 25% of the landscaping material has to be native. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I think in the future, Bill and I talk about this all the time, and I think, millennials aren't as lawn obsessed as the rest of us. And it's just not sustainable for everyone to have full lawns that require, so much water. 20, 30 years, I think we're going to see some big changes.
Especially the way Florida is growing right now, we'll get to a point where, because the last number that I heard in Hernando County, and this is going to be the same in most counties, they estimate that about 60% of the potable water that's sent to houses is used on outdoor irrigation.
It is.
It'll get to the point where we can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
It is. The 60% of the water we deliver is thrown right on lawns. That needs to change. It really does. We're not arguing.
People want to move here, and if people want water to drink and for, human needs, we're going to have to change that. You won't be able to water that St. Augustine or non-native landscape as much as you want. And there are plenty of fine non-native landscape plants that do well, but a lot of them require more water. I don't think I've ever gotten a question about an insect pest with a native plant that somebody had growing in their yard.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets a pest like muley grass, you're familiar with muley grass, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is a native grass, native Florida grass. Mm-hmm. There is a native mealybug, the muley grass mealybug, that feeds on it. If you get the mealybug on your muley grass, just ignore it.
Say that 5 times fast. The mealybug on your muley grass.
If you get that mealybug on your muley grass, just ignore it. You really don't have to do anything. If you get a lot, it doesn't. You get because they're white on the green grass. You can give it a spray or two with insecticidal soap. It's all you got to do. You don't have to have a company come and spray it. You don't have to go out there and douse it with 7 or systemics or anything else. So,
that story. PJ, when you come to our Earth Day celebration, the native plant expert that will be there, her name is Rita. Look for her. She knows a lot about sunshine mimosa. She's the one with the lawn that is sunshine mimosa. And she loves to say the mimosa strigolosa. That's one of her favorite words and things to talk about. So, I'm not just all that familiar with some having thorns and all this. So talk to her and, we'll find out some more about that. And Jill, yes, there are. And we're just bringing these contradictory opinions to you. So I guess some people find it with their conditions that it becomes aggressive. It's not invasive. Native plants are never invasive. It becomes aggressive. And maybe out there, what often happens is There are non-native varieties that look very much like the native, and they get kind of mixed up together. So maybe some of these aggressive ones are some of the non-native. I'm not sure how that's, how they're all getting mixed together. As I said, I've tried to put some in last spring. I'm not getting it to spread that much. And then other people say it takes over the world. So I guess it would be get a little bit and try it out and see how it works for you. The bees love it. I'm going to tell you that much. The bees absolutely love those pink powder puffs. If you look at close-ups of the flowers, they have yellow tips. That's not part of the flower. That's where their pollen is on each of those little yellow tips. So I am a sunshine mimosa fan. Other people aren't. So just
But
like
when it comes to the mimosa tree that Jill asked about here,
oh,
I just looked it up. It's invasive in the entire state.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were talking about the tree. That is a totally different subject, and yes, that is absolutely invasive. I saw one in Pennsylvania. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, that's pretty much how invasive it's getting.
I just pulled it up, and it is not located further south of the greater Tampa Bay area, really. It goes from straight across Central Florida north. So it's looking like Osceola, Polk, Hillsborough, north.
And where I live
up north.
In northwestern Hernando, you can see it when it's blooming in the undeveloped areas. And even my husband once said, "What are those? Those are pretty. Maybe we should get some."
They're invasive, and they get into natural areas and wild areas and really take off. Boy, I tell you what, it's getting darker, and it looks like it's about 10 o'clock at night outside. It's getting darker and darker.
Cindy always had a mimosa tree in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Hummingbirds loved it.
No, I don't have a bunker cave for my office.
I was talking about where you turn into the main area of the airport. That bunker there. They are about a block.
Okay, no, that's.
See, I knew what he was talking about. They're about a block east of there. Turn there and you'll find them. Nice blue and orange sign. Weird, huh? Blue and orange sign for University of Florida building and all the beautiful butterfly plants that are coming back.
And PJ mentioned that she attended a presentation recently where the topic of lubber grasshoppers came up. They are native. And I saw, and I guess, I'm not even sure if I could find it at this point. It was on Facebook, and somebody had seen it somewhere else written by an entomologist, and they contacted them and said, "Can I use your comment?" And they said, "Sure," and sent them their full comment, statement, or whatever. That this time of year, you have to put up with everybody flipping out over lubber grasshoppers. They're native. They're not a huge problem. They are eaten by squirrels and animals and other things. Not a lot, because they don't taste really good to animals, but they're still eaten, some. And they're not as big of, it's not worth flipping out over.
They're chewing up on my my one poor little amaryllis, but it's just chewed. It's not eaten to the ground. So.
And you would not want to start spraying your entire yard with pesticides, because then I can almost guarantee you're going to throw things off so badly that you're going to have problems that I can't even help you with.
Before we go, I do want to clarify, in case there was some confusion. There's a mimosa tree that it is an invasive exotic you need to get rid of. There is something called sunshine mimosa, Mimosa strigolosa, which is a native ground cover. Those are two different things we were talking about. Oh, nice. It's blooming right now in Lee's yard down further south.
And the mimosa, or the pink wildflowers that are
okay, I can answer that one.
That's probably the Texas
phlox.
Phlox, PHLOX.
Yeah, we're not being sarcastic. We're not just calling them phlox of flowers. PHLOX. They are part of the The Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower program have wildflowers along the highways, and they have been planted there, by the state. The ones that you see this time of year are the beautiful pinks and purples, and they throw in some whites. Those are, oh, I forgot part of their name. Is it Phlox Dramundi?
Mm-hmm.
And they are Texas cousins to our native phlox. The reason they use those is because of how well they spread. Our native ones just aren't going to perform that well. So they're not native, but they're not harmful. Exactly what pollinators they attract, I'm not sure. I'd have to research that. But, bees like flat flowers like that. They say, and the bluish colors, they like those. And you probably, can see any number of pollinators on them. Now, do they have anything specific that goes to them? Probably not. I mean, maybe in Texas, because that's where they're from. But they're the fun Texas cousins of our native phlox. Oh, now I look at it. We had a beautiful stormy day. Wow.
I'm looking out the window, and it's pitch black out there. The trees are all starting to bend.
Yeah, I'm hearing
the rain is going sideways, and it's.
You know what, though? You know
it's
what
a
good
belly
thing
washer.
Is? As far as this building goes, I'm in the safe room. So I
It
don't
may
quite
be a very
understand.
dark room, but
I don't quite understand how it's the safe room when it's on the second floor. But
safe enough. Safe from floodwaters, I guess. So.
Texas sage is not native.
So it's getting to be that time, but let's try to knock out another quick question or two here for everybody, since it is the 2-year anniversary. They all tuned in for that.
Yes.
So Debbie says she has azaleas that were transplanted twice last year. That's tough on them. 2 of them didn't flower this year and only have a few leaves which have dark spots on them. Shall I pull them, prune them, or something else? Any hope for their survival?
There is hope for their survival if you do nothing to them, because you've already stressed them several times. So
light fertilizing with azalea fertilizer now. And like I said, light fertilizing, you don't have to fertilize them more than once. You don't have to fertilize them a lot. Just light fertilizing with a special labeled azalea fertilizer, and wait and see how they do over the summer. They're either going to recover or decline.
If you transplanted them in a shady area, then, they have a chance. If you put them out in the sun, they don't do well in the sun.
Okay, regular viewer Corey says he needs more coffee, as do I.
I think he means of the plant.
PJ loves her flowering weeds.
Mm-hmm.
So if only they weren't so picky about where they live. There are seasonal weeds that flower, and some can look attractive. That's all a matter of personal opinion.
Look on Hernando County Government YouTube and find my program on weeds or wildflowers. And I'm going to be studying wildflowers again in the next few weeks. May 1st is Wildflower Week, and we're going to write an article in the Hernando Sun about it. And we love to go out and find all these wonderful wildflowers, and some of them, you're right, they do their own thing. They will not be tamed, but some of them can do great in your yard.
Okay, Jill brings up a very good question or point here. And since you're in the water department with flickering lights, does the gray water, and obviously she's talking about reclaimed water for irrigation. So does that we use to irrigate help or not? I know if I tell my subdivision to plant native plants because of water, someone's just going to come back and say, well, we use that gray water or reclaimed water, so it's not even an issue. We can use as much as we want. So what would you say to that?
she probably has reclaimed water. We don't have any gray water, and we only have really one subdivision within our system. There's another one within the city of Brooksville system that uses reclaimed water, that uses reclaimed water, and they only use it on their golf courses. It is definitely helpful, and sometimes people with reclaimed water have so much, they have this stockpile of it. You just have to be careful because you don't know, the quality of the water is going to be different each time, and it can be higher in salts. It is good for lawns. Lawns do fine with it. I wonder if everyone left the building and left me in here.
They didn't even think to come looking for you.
No. Reclaimed water, I know it, azaleas hate it. Things that don't like a lot of salts don't do well with it. So sometimes you have to adjust, and you have to adjust your lawn's fertilizing schedule because it has some nitrogen and stuff. Your native plants aren't going to want any supplemental water once they get established.
Yeah, they don't need any irrigation. And at some point down the road, I would think that I don't know this for sure, but the reclaimed water will probably be used for completely cleaning it so it could be used as drinking water once again. So I found our last two questions here.
Okay.
So Jem says, do caladiums need moist or dry soil?
I think they need moist, don't you?
A little bit moist because they like it where it's shady. They pop up in the spring, they're around all summer, and then they die and disappear in the fall.
They are annuals. They're
the bulb lies underground.
And back to Jill's question about the natives, I don't know if your HOA will care about that, but natives also have less of a carbon footprint. You're not moving plants from large distances. Also, though, it will save on maintenance because they are so low maintenance.
Less maintenance and basically no disease and pest issues. And today's last question from Mithril. How do you feel about planting zinnias? The butterflies love them and they grow so easily.
Look up my, go to Hernando County Government YouTube and look up the one I just did, Bee specific, BEE specific. And one of the non-native annuals that I do recommend is zinnias. Somehow or another, zinnias have, even though there's all kinds of types, they've not been hybridized to the point where pollinators don't recognize them. They're one of the few annuals that you can say that about. So generally, we recommend annuals in moderation, again, because like I said, the carbon footprint and the expense of having to replace them all the time. So if you have a small area or a pot or something where you like to put your annuals, go ahead and indulge then. And zinnias are great pollinator attractors. Oh yes, happy Easter.
And Lee, you have a very happy Easter also. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. Like I said, we will not be here next Thursday because both Lily and I have to go different places and do stuff. So, but we will be back the week after that. Follow us on Facebook for details. And if you're wondering what the heck this little thing is rolling along the bottom that's making your head spin, the HernandoExtension.com. If you go to that, you can find out details on every week's, the upcoming week's virtual plant clinic, all of our classes, everything else that we have going on. You can find the details, the links, the wheres, the whens, and everything else you need to know right there. And Jem, you're very welcome. Jill, thank you so much for asking so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
And
Back. Yes.
Mithril, welcome.
Mm-hmm. Mithriel's local. Mithriel's local too, so that's great.
And there's a tornado warning near Bayonet Point. So
I will not go stealth today then.
I'm not surprised. Although that one really scary line of storms just passed, and I can kind of see it clearing behind it.
So Corey, be careful down there by Bayonet Point.
So yeah, everybody be careful. Wait, enjoy the rain so that you don't have to water today.
Yes, I am very happy because I have planted some new cedar trees. So every time it rains, I don't have to water them because even though they are native, I mean, one is a pretty big tree that we transplanted. So it's going to need water every day for a while. So when nature helps me with that, I'm quite happy. Well, thank you, everybody. And I'm going under the table now. So
thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And please be safe with the rough weather out there. Yes. And remember, we will not see you next Thursday, but we'll hopefully see all of you back here again.
And Thursday please go back and watch our old ones. Maybe there's some of them that you have missed.
I know. Lily has 75 videos on her YouTube, so you'll have time to get all caught up on them, and you can quiz her about her past classes.
I am a YouTube influencer.
Whoa, I wouldn't go quite that far, but we're working on it. Yeah. We're getting there. Okay, thanks, everybody. Bye.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Bye-bye.